Hello class. Today we're going to talk about ellipses. So an ellipse is basically a circle in perspective. So you take a circle and you put it in perspective where it's in 1 point, 2 point perspective. This oval shape is an ellipse. So let's draw a box. Box, square. So we all know that circles, a perfect circle will fit perfectly in a square, right? So before I draw that circle, I want to do this. I want to draw from corner to corner. Draw from corner to corner, like so. And then I want you to draw a line here where it intersects in the middle, and here to quarter of the square. So a circle, a perfect circle in the square, it's going to hit the square here, 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 and here, along these axis points. Another thing I want to talk about before I do this is when you draw circles, get in the habit of drawing them real slow and finding the circle. It's very difficult to draw, a perfect circle on the first try, right? You have to kind of find the circle. So let's put a circle in this box, this square. Go clockwise, counterclockwise. I just want you to get in the, get in the motion. Of finding that circle. Okay, so now we have a circle perfectly fitting into a square. Now let's draw another square, but let's draw it in perspective. Let's draw it in 1 point perspective. So let's say we'll just put our vanishing point here right in the middle of the circle. Okay. Draw this for me. So now imagine this is this square just laid down. This circle laid down flat. Let's do the same thing. Let's divide this, find the perspective center, okay, and then let's quarter it. Okay, just like so. Got that? Okay, now we know that the circle's gonna touch at these points. So it's going to touch here, 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 here. Okay, now I want you to draw that circle. So that is a circle in perspective, and that's called an ellipse, elliptical shape. So when you're drawing circles, ellipses, you need to make sure you're following the whole thing through. For example, when you're drawing this, notice how I'm going all the way around. I'm going from here to here, here to here, from here to here, then back. The reason I'm doing that is so I get these nice natural looking rounded edges. I don't want to do this. Like if I'm drawing an ellipse, you want to draw like this. Okay? Like let's say this is the top of a can or something. You want to draw like that. What you don't want to do is this. You don't want to do like that. You don't want almonds. You want nice, smooth shapes. Just drawing through like this gives you these nice rounded edges. I know when I'm drawing I'm very aware that I'm drawing on a flat surface, right? But I'm thinking about when I'm drawing things in perspective, I'm thinking as if I'm drawing through into space, okay? That's where my mindset is, and that's where your mindset will get over time, okay? So I'm thinking about this drawing into space. So circle, ellipse. Now, most objects that you're going to draw are going to fall into two categories, really. You're going to have architectural shapes, that's cubes, cylinders, and then you're going to have organic shapes, you know, like trees and earth formations. Even organic shapes can be broken down into geometric shapes, architectural shapes, like the human body. You look at our body, you know, these are cylinders, and cylinders will fit inside of boxes. Okay, so over the course of this semester, we'll talk, you know, more about that. Today, we're just focusing on cylinder shapes. Cylinder shapes. So let's start talking about how we're going to apply this to drawing actual objects. Okay, so for this next part of the exercise, you're going to need 5 different objects. 5 different objects that are cylinders. Those can be cans, they can be bottles, they can be glasses, they can be shampoo bottles, you know, just anything that is a cylinder in shape. And I want them to be, you can have something that's simple, and then I want you to have some objects that are more complex. This being complex, that there's a lot of different ellipses. Okay? All right. So this next part of the exercise, you notice I'm going to turn this sideways because I want to draw 2 different drawings. I want you also to draw 2 different drawings on each sheet of paper. So you got to take this down horizontal. Also, when you draw, you need to have yourself set up so you can draw the object and also see your drawing. Okay, so you need to be set up where I'm going to be drawing over here, these objects, and I want to be able to have a clear view at them. Don't work from photographs unless I instruct you to work from photographs. I want you to work from actual observation. If you're working from photograph, you're working from something that's already been flattened, right? Because it's photo. All right, so let's start with the simple object, right? This tape. See this roll of tape? Now, we know this is a perfect circle. This will fit into a square box. Now, when I'm looking at this, there is several different, well, there's 3 ellipses I need to identify. I need to identify this ellipse, and the inner ellipse right here, okay? So I'm going to walk you through 2 objects, and I want you to do this for each 5 objects. I'm going to be working a little bit faster. You'll be taking your time a little bit, but we want to accomplish this by middle of class, okay? 5 drawings. 5 drawings, 5 different cylinder objects, circular round objects. Okay, let's talk about the tape. So I showed you what it looks like, and now I'm going to show you how I would draw this. So first thing I want to do is the same thing I did with the chair that we drew the other day. I want to see I want you to draw as big as you can, and I need to find out the distance between this right here and this back edge. I need to figure out what this distance is. So I know I can only go so wide. So I'm going to start, maybe I'll start here, and let's say the back edge is going to be right up here. A lot of times drawing is just getting a mark on a paper and then making a decision and then correcting and refining those decisions. So I'm going to look at this first ellipse, and I'm going to sketch that out. Okay, and then I'm going to look for where that next ellipse is, which is right here, okay? Right here. Now, another thing I should mention. So this right here is right at your eye level, right at the camera. See how it's completely flat? This is where the eye level is. The further this gets away from the eye level, you'll notice the more of this you see, right? So the ellipse gets a little more deeper, right? Or the height. Back this off a little bit, right? Eye level, the lower I put this, the more of the top you can see. So that's something that you're trying to figure out in your drawing. Okay, back to the drawing. So I'm going to look at this width, and I'm going to put the edge here, and I'm going to draw my next ellipse. So this ellipse here should be not quite as wide or not quite as tall as the one below it. It should be gradually, slightly more squished, narrow. So you want to make sure you're looking at your object, as you draw. I'm trying to do my best to draw and have you see, right? Once I feel like I have this, figured out, I'm drawing this whole ellipse so I can get this edge right here, here and here. I don't want to just do this and call it a day. I want to make sure I draw it all the way through so I get these natural looking edges to the ellipse. Now I'm going to connect these two, right? Because we know it's a roll of tape, so we know it's flat on the edges, right? Okay, now I'm going to come in. I'm going to draw the middle of that tape. Okay, so that's a pretty simple object, and I want you to draw things as if they're transparent, like this. Okay, so before I move on, I'm going to clean this up a little bit, and I want you to clean up your drawings. So you should spend about 15 minutes average with each object, okay? Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next one, but I want your drawings to be a little sharper than this. Let's move on to the next one. This is a much more complex. So first I just want to, let's look at this and break it down, right? So I got 1, 2, roughly, because it goes from flat to rounded, and then it stops and goes flat again here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, it just keeps going, right? There's just so many ellipses that connect all these things together. That is what I want you thinking about when you break down your containers or bottles, cans, whatever you're drawing. I want you to build it from the bottom to the top. But first thing we have to do is figure out what space is this going to occupy on my drawing. So I'm going to do the same exact thing with this. I'm going to kind of figure out what's the bottom, what's going to be the bottom, what's going to be the top, so I can fit it in here. If I just start drawing, I'll end up with either something too big or too small. I want you to think about blocking in the object, right? Maybe if I won't go that tall, but I want to get this to fit within this block, this square, this space. Okay, first thing I want to identify is the bottom. So I want to look at this and this. What's the front of the bottle? What's the back of the bottle? I'm going to draw a really light sketch. Okay. When I feel like I have something close, I have I feel like I have something close. I'm going to go to the next ellipse. Now this gets a little bit wider. Okay, now I'm going to connect these two, just like I did with the tape. Remember when I connected this? I'm going to connect this to the bottom. Now this base is kind of like a bowl, a really short bowl. Okay, that is this little part right here. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to go up to this ellipse right here. If I can get this, then I can just connect the sides. Also, you want to pay attention to the silhouette of whatever you're drawing. That'll also help you render the object more realistic. So I'm going to look for the next ellipse. I'm going to say, based on the size of this, I'm going to put it here. Now I know the width, this width is the same up here because the side of the bottle is flat because I looked at the silhouette. Once I have this where I want it, I'm going to connect these two. Okay, now I'm just going through each step logically on how I would draw this and how I build it up. Next thing I want to do is this is where it goes in, right? So I need an ellipse here, and I need to look at this width compared to this width. So I'm going to say it's roughly, you know, it's somewhere in here. When you're drawing, you need to be a little more skeptical. Like, let's say you draw something, and you're like, you know, okay, that's it. Well, that might be too wide, right? Always draw light and be willing to, you know, make those corrections. If you draw really light, you don't have to erase as much because you can just, you know, you just wipe it off. Just practice working really light. I'm drawing a little darker so you can see. All right, so I'm going to say here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to connect these ellipses together. Okay, that gives me that. It goes up flat again on the edge here. So there's another ellipse that's roughly here, and this is kind of rounded a little bit. It goes like that. Okay, that's getting this. Okay, next thing is where it bottlenecks. Okay, now I need to get the spout, and I need to get this ring around the spout. So I'm going to draw the spout as all one piece. Okay. Then I'm going to come in and draw that middle ellipse that holds the cap, I guess is what it's for. Okay, so something like that. Now I can tell just by looking at it, there's things wrong. This needs to come up a little bit more. Okay, so if I need to go back to my drawing and correct that, I will. Also, it's getting a little, it's not quite symmetrical. So those are the things I want you to do. Once you have something down, you can step back and you go, okay, something's not quite right. Then you can go back in and you can adjust. So let me make some of those adjustments now. Okay, so it's a little closer. But like I said, I want you to spend about 15 minutes for each object. And I want you to draw as large as you can, and I want you to have 2 objects per page. So you can flip this over, you can use the back side of your drawings, and then I want you to draw the next shape, whatever that is. Like I said, figure out the total dimensions, the width, the height, and then start building it up ellipse by ellipse and connecting them the same way I did this. Okay? So that's what I want to see at the middle class. 5 nice, clean, crisp drawings. Keep in mind, these are just examples. This is in the early stage of the drawing. I want you to take about 15 minutes and make sure that it's clean and nice and tidy drawings, okay? All right. Okay, for the second half of class, what I want you to do is I want you to take those 5 objects and I want you to compile them together to a composition where, you know, there's a little bit of a hierarchy, okay? And the challenge is, how am I going to fit all of this onto my drawing paper? Also, there's a lot going on here, so there's many ellipses that you're going to need to draw. A couple things I want you to look for, when, you know, just talking about it now before we start drawing, is I have them all spaced in a way that's going vertical, because I want you to draw on your drawing paper vertical. So I want you to turn your paper back to the vertical position. And once you have your still life set up, you'll notice how I'm kind of off to the side. Ideally, I want you to be drawing your objects where they're just a little bit below eye level. So you're not drawing them like down here looking at them from eye level. You're just slightly above at eye level. I don't want you to be set up drawing like this, you know, where you're looking straight down at them. I want you to be a little bit off, right? A little bit off where you can see everything, and your eye level's up here, and yeah, so have a setup where you can see your drawing, see the still life. I want you to work from the still life. I don't want you to take a picture and then work from the photo. I want you to work from actual observation. Now, I'm going to address how to set this drawing up. I'm going to be working a little bit quickly. You know, like I said, I kind of know what I'm looking for, but I'm going to point out some of the things I want you to look for as you're drawing. So, just like anything else, I want to make sure that it's going to fit on my page. So, don't start in the middle of the page. Like, don't have the bottom of your composition up here. You got all this room, so start below. And I can't go any higher than this bottle up here. Well, you can't see. I can't go any further than the top of that wine bottle. That's the tallest object. Okay? All right. Hang with me. I'm doing the best I can here. Okay. So, this is my drawing space. Now I'm going to draw really light so I can make sure everything will fit. So, I'm looking at the width of everything, and I feel like this would be a good placement for the tape, which I drew at the beginning of this video. So I'm just going to do a light, rough sketch of that. All right, there's the tape. And then I'm going to look at the bottle, which is the apple juice bottle, which is the next thing that I drew from earlier. And instead of drawing the whole thing, I'm going to place a box just to make sure it'll fit. Place a box. That looks pretty good. The wine bottle is quite a bit taller, so if this is the top of this, and make sure everything, we're also dealing with proportion. Proportion is the size of an object relative to another object. So we're going to be juggling a lot of different things when you're doing this this quick sketch. You're juggling shape, proportion, proximity of objects. You're looking at negative space. Now I'm going to draw the wine glass. Just make sure it'll fit. You know, kind of just a real rough sketch. So that looks pretty good there. And then I got the cleaning bottle behind that. So I'm going to look at the cleaning bottle comparison to the apple juice bottle. So I think the height of that is going to be somewhere up here. You know, so, okay. So I'm just working out the composition right now. You know, I'm not diving into the drawing just yet. I want to make sure I get the overall and it's all going to fit before I move on. If I drew something too tall or too short, at this point, just figuring it out, I'll just erase. But see how light I'm drawing? That way it's easy for me to erase. If I just start into it and I start drawing real dark like this, or if you start drawing like this, then it's difficult to erase into, it's difficult to work. Newsprint is a really cheap paper, and which is great for two reasons. It's cheap, so you can just flip the drawing over and start another drawing. No shame in that game. Starting over is good, right? But also, I just want you to keep getting more used to just drawing real light at the outset, because you can just easily just wipe something away without even using an eraser, you know? So keeping it real light. And now I'm going to dig into the drawing, and I'm going to start working out more of these shapes. So I'm going to probably just speed this up a little bit. From this section, I'm going to draw maybe like, I don't know, just a little bit to get you started. I want to be looking at the drawing, or at the still life, as much. I want to be looking at the still life as much as I'm looking at my drawing. If you find yourself just working on the drawing and you're not looking at your still life anymore, then you need to just pause, focus back on the still life. So now I'm looking at my drawing, and I'm looking at the still life, and I can see a couple things that I want to improve, and I still have room to do that. I need to bring this tape down. It's a little bit, perspective-wise, it's a little too squished. So I need to bring it down to here, maybe, a little bit lower. And I need to work on my perspective on the tape. Should be, kind of lay down a little more flat like that. So here's what I want to show you on my drawing. It's real loose, real sketchy. Okay, it all fits, it all works. There's still things I got to move around. Here's my still life. Right? There's a lot of stuff that I want you to improve on from this stage. I want you to get to this stage. This should take you roughly 20 minutes to just get it all planned out. Then I want you to do just like we did before with the other projects, especially like the boxes. I want you to refine the images, or refine the objects, refine your lines. Okay? See how it's real loose? I want you to find crisp and nice edges. These are called contour lines. And I don't want it to be sloppy like this. I want you to clean it up so it's nice and sharp. Okay? If you give yourself some room, drawing really light, you can erase in and clean things up. Okay, and clean things up nice, crisp. Another thing that I want you to focus on is if you're drawing a bottle and it has a label or something like that on it, it has branding. I don't care about any of that. Don't draw it. I just want you to draw the actual contour and the actual shape, the geometric shapes. Okay? Just like this, but with another, you should have an hour and 30 minutes into this. So it should be nice, clean, and crisp. And I just want you to work out, the main thing I want you to focus on is just getting the proximity and the size relative to each other, the proportion of each object, as close to accurate as you possibly can. Okay? All right.